to being an elephant, slow, lumberous, vegetarian. And like it happens with elephants, everything in India is done at high paces, accompanied by a great deal of trumpeting and bleating, and it takes 3 years to deliver results, of course. My charter is to speak about the military aspects of the relationship. Let me begin by saying that China's growing power and influence in Asia poses a strategic challenge to India. I see the larger relationship as being stable at the strategic level and being marked by aggressiveness at the tactical level. Diplomatic aggressiveness, political aggressiveness, and military aggressiveness. The two eminent speakers who spoke before me have covered this aggressiveness of the Chinese, so I shall not go into too many details. The major issue between India and China is the territorial and boundary dispute, and that acts as a spoiler in the larger relationship. Unless the security relationship improves, there is no question of India and China being genuine friends in Asia who cooperate rather than compete for power and influence. Why do I say that the strategic relationship is peaceful? Well, we haven't had a border incident since the last incident of firing at Nathula in 1967. The economy, the trade between the two countries is burgeoning, $60 billion this year. We are cooperating in international fora. And by and large, the relationship is tranquil. At the tactical level, it's another thing altogether, and that is where we come to the military aspects. Shrikant mentioned the word transgression. I think you also mentioned intrusion, Shrikant. There is a difference between transgressions and intrusions. Intrusions have a sense of prominence about them. What happened at Kargil in 1999 was definitely an intrusion, or a series of intrusions. Batalik sector, Kargil sector, Kaksa sector, Dras sector, Mashko sector, etc. But transgressions happen when you go across, in this case, the line of actual control. Both the sides do that. That is the stand of the Ministry of Defense and the Army headquarters, that both the sides do that. Some years the Chinese transgressions are more, some summers ours are more. Mostly it happens in the summer. But you come back. Why does this happen? This happens because the line of actual control, you won't believe this one, the line of actual control is not well defined. Neither the Indian side nor the Chinese side really knows where the line of actual control runs. And this is because the two sides have failed to reach agreement on the line of actual control, leave aside settlement of the territorial and boundary dispute. So far, all that has been achieved is that marked maps showing each other's perception of the line of actual control have been exchanged only for what is known as the middle sector. Western sector is Ladakh, middle sector is Uttarakhand, and the eastern sector is, of course, Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh, the McMahon line in Arunachal Pradesh. So it's only for the middle sector that marked maps have been exchanged. We haven't discussed how to resolve the difference between their perception and ours, Barawati, etc. For the western sector in Ladakh, Aksai Chin, and the eastern sector along the McMahon line, even maps have not been exchanged. I have it on good authority that in one particular meeting, when we were discussing exchanging maps about the western sector, the Chinese took one look at our map and took theirs back and told us to keep ours. So there you have it. Patrol face-offs are therefore common. That is, patrols meet each other fairly frequently during the year. After all, the same areas are being patrolled. And the Indian side tells the Chinese side, you're in our territory, please go back. The Chinese side tells the Indian side, you're in our territory, please go back. Mind you, neither side, Indian or Chinese, trains its young company commanders and platoon commanders to be diplomats. They train them to be soldiers. So one of these face-offs could lead to an ugly incident. And then who knows, we might have another short, sharp border conflict. So I do not rule out the probability of a border conflict, though the probability is extremely low. There are some positive developments, border meetings, for example, exercises like exercise hand in hand 2008 in China, 2009 in India. But for the time being, this relationship has been put on hold by India. It's quite apparent to me as an observer of the scene that the People's Liberation Army calls the shots and not the Ministry of External Affairs of China. All discussions, all negotiations, all posturing towards India is dictated by the People's Liberation Army in Beijing and not the party, or actually the PLA has the blessings of the party, but certainly not by the executive wing of the government. China has made inroads into India's neighborhood. A nuclear, missile and military hardware nexus with Pakistan. Friendship higher than the mountains, deeper than the ocean, and sweeter than honey. The sweeter than honey part I discovered very recently. Hu Jintao said so. The Chinese president himself said so. They have guaranteed Pakistan's territorial integrity against the Afghans perhaps. India is not threatening them. They have made inroads into Nepal. This afternoon's news bulletin was that the Chinese are buying Nepalese MPs to install Prachanda as a Prime Minister. They've made inroads into Bangladesh, into Myanmar, into Sri Lanka. They've got a string of pearls strategy in the Northern Indian Ocean region, ports at Gwadar, Hampantota, along the Myanmar coast, Chittagong, etc. So in my view, China is engaged in the strategic encirclement of India. Clear and simple, it's part of their grand strategy. And it's a very carefully drawn up strategy that is being executed over the long term. Next, I'll come to, very briefly, modernization of the People's Liberation Army. Firstly, the doctrine. The doctrine they follow is that of active defense. Local border war under high-tech conditions or under conditions of informationization. Essentially what it means is that the PLA plans to fight the next war outside Chinese territory, which in our case means Arunachal Pradesh and Ladakh, if not Uttarakhand or Sikkim. What are their thrust areas of modernization? A blue water navy, a modern air force with deep strike aircraft, air-to-air refueling, strategic airlift, also one rapid reaction division per military region, which allows them force projection or power projection outside China's territories, land territories and sea territories. And of course, modernization of the command control, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, networks, etc., officer education. As far as the nuclear forces are concerned, the second artillery, as it's being called, or the strategic rocket forces are also being modernized with multiple independently targeted re-entry vehicles. Satellite, as far as space is concerned, they have developed an ASAT, anti-satellite test capability, and of course they have a very sophisticated satellite program. How are they able to afford this? China's defense budget today is approximately 80 billion US dollars. Chinese claim. Of course, if you go by what the West says, what the Pentagon says, it's in triple digits. The Chinese defense budget is growing at double-digit rates annually. In nominal terms, 15 to 16%. In real terms, taking parity with the dollar.